We're joined on the D4 Land Services hotline by Mitch, Light of the Athletic. You know, in the fall, we talk college football, the national scene, games of the past weekend, things we need to know. And in the spring, we've talked a whole lot of college baseball, and what an incredible season it's been. We're joined on the D4 Land Services hotline by Mitch, Light of the Athletic. Mitch, man, you know it was only a week ago, but why does it feel like it was 20 months ago? But didn't Oklahoma win the College World Series last Monday night?
I believe they did.
Why does it feel like a month ago or 10 months ago?
It does. It was weird. This weekend was the first weekend without college sports since, week 0 of the college football season. So, it does. Obviously, it's been a week. We had Game 3, and it kind of followed the typical or what we'd seen from the College World Series. Not a great game. It was a fun event. It was a great event, but there weren't many great games. And, Oklahoma dominated Game 1 and Game 3 and were the deserving national champ and all that good stuff. They just capped what will be remembered as one of the most unlikely postseason runs in college sports history, I think, based on what they did in the regular season and the way they played in the postseason. So congrats to Oklahoma. And, so it's like you said, though, it seems like it's been a while.
And I do want to make sure everybody heard your word choices there. One of the most improbable run in college sports. You didn't say baseball, college sports history. They had to beat the ACC champion in the regional. They had to beat the Big 12 champion in the Super Regional. They won the SEC mini tournament and the SEC champion in their half of Omaha.
Yeah, and none of it was at home. Obviously Omaha not at home, but to beat Georgia Tech on the road, to beat Kansas on the road, just adds to it. And, I'm sure there's been other runs in other sports that we're not familiar with, Olympic sports, but the sport that gets the type of attention, football, we don't see these runs because we haven't had more than a 4-team playoff except for, a couple years. So we're not, Miami, in theory, you could say Miami's run is were they 11 seed last year or the 10 seed because whatever they were. But, it's hard to call Miami with that roster budget a real improbable run. They were obviously a very good team. And to me, I'd have to go back and look. Ole Miss's run in 22 was obviously improbable, going from 14 and 16. I don't think their road was as difficult, and this one just seemed more improbable. This one just seemed more out of left field.
I will say, in the College World Series, if you take a look maybe over the past decade and change, we've had more improbable. It hasn't been as unlikely to see improbable make a run from what maybe the first Oregon State run. I hope I don't butcher this. Coastal Carolina?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm being prisoner of the moment because we had Fresno State win a national championship in 2008 as a number 4 seed. Believe they lost the first game to Georgia in the best of 3, then won the next 2. We had Virginia win a national championship as a 3 seed in 2015, and I believe they were the last team or one of the last teams in. If you're at large if you're the number 3 team from a major conference, you're one of the last teams in. But I think they were. Michigan got to the championship series in 2019 as the last team in, or one of the last 2 teams in, and they beat defending champ Oregon State in a super regional, or maybe in a regional in Corvallis. And then I mentioned Ole Miss. So maybe I am being prisoner of the moment, but I think the stats would back us up that no team changed its identity or no team outperformed its stats from the regular season more so than the Oklahoma offense. I mean, we're talking about I don't have it in front of me, I looked it up, like a 60-point batting average jump, doubled their home runs per game practically. OPS went up 200 points. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
No, that's why I'm with you. Their road too. Their road too, the always on the road, having to beat champs. They never got a lucky break. It's not like the super regional host got upset and Oklahoma hosted in the next round. It's not like they were the only SEC team in Omaha to be on the other half. They got no breaks along the way of any kind.
Exactly. Nothing. Yeah, you could say that. If they looked at the bracket, if you're an Oklahoma fan on Selection Monday, you looked at the bracket and said, well, maybe if this happens and this happens, we can make a run. None of that happened. They had to go. And like, on paper, you might say, oh, Kansas wasn't great. Well, Kansas won the Big 12, and they beat Arkansas in a regional. And we know how talented Arkansas is. And it was a great atmosphere there. So there's nothing, is Kansas the most talented team they played along the way? No, but they were a very good team, deserving of their status, deserving of their, place as the super regional host.
So in the end, how do you okay, I don't even know if you thought about this, but how do you grade this college baseball season? Exceptional. It was fun. It was mediocre. How do you grade the season, the journey we had?
Yeah, that was good. That was great. As the sport continues to grow, there's more attention on it. It's hard to call it an amazing season when the World Series was just, there weren't moments. Some of the moments in the World Series we'll remember were like the Branch brothers. That was fun and that was great, but that did not, the reason that was a great moment is because it was a blowout. And the brothers, one brother could be really happy for the other brother. So there weren't that many amazing moments. You'll look back to the Skeens versus Rhett Lauder, Wake Forest, LSU. There were some great games there. It just seems like there were bigger. There've been a lot bigger moments at the CWS in recent years. So the fact that we didn't get those in the College World Series, it's hard to call it an amazing season. UCLA was the best team on paper all season. They didn't get out of a regional. Georgia Tech was great. Would have loved to seen that offense in Omaha. That's kind of like what happens in the college basketball tournament when we say we love upsets in the first few rounds, but we want to see the best teams get to the Final Four. We had good teams at the Final Four in Omaha, but also would have liked to see Rock Chalowski on the national stage. Would have loved to see Georgia Tech with that offense on the national stage. So, I'm not complaining, but it could have been better, I guess is the way I phrase it.
Very fair. Very fair. So, it was good, even really good. Great is reserved for X, Y, and Z, the parameters you have for great. Now, I need you to weigh on something. It was a conversation we had here on the Louie Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric, last week. When I do my final rankings, and your final rankings reflect you don't buy into this, so I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I was going to I'm glad you brought it up. I was going to bring it up, but you go ahead.
To make the final 16, you 90% of the time have to at least advance out of a regional. And obviously UCLA didn't. Georgia Tech didn't. A&M didn't. And you have all three of those teams inside your top 16.
Yes. So this is the first time I have done a postseason college baseball ranking. I did rankings last year, week to week, and for whatever reason, I just didn't do them in the postseason. And I was like, hey, season's over, I should do them.
You should. I'm happy you did, because I feel like you got to do them.
Yeah. So everyone has different philosophy on rankings. Like in college basketball, if a team comes out of nowhere to make the final 8, are they ranked at the end of the year? Or are they in the top 8? So I'm not saying my way is what everyone should do, because clearly they don't. If you compare my rankings to D1 or Baseball America, they did not follow the script. But I actually feel good about the way I did them. I have the 8 Omaha teams as my top 8 teams.
2 thumbs up, completely agree.
If you win 2 postseason weekend series, you are deserving of a top 8 seed. After that, I weighed regular season and postseason success. I mean, I don't have a number in my mind, but if you would have told me I'd probably 75% regular season, 25% postseason. That's why I have Georgia Tech 9, UCLA 10. As you mentioned, I've got A&M, I've got Mississippi State. I don't have Little Rock. Little Rock making a super regional to me does not just give them a spot. Here's what I wrote. Little Rock was a tough omission, especially since Jacksonville State is ranked 24th and the Trojans beat the Gamecocks twice in the regional. But its body of work, 39 and 28 overall and 16 and 11 in the OVC, just did not warrant a spot in the top 25. They're not one of the top 25 teams in the country. To me, they're not, so they shouldn't be ranked. I put Tennessee in. I actually had Tennessee unranked going into the NCAA tournament. But when all was said and done, they went 8-7 against teams in Omaha. That's pretty strong. So I ranked them. So again, top 8 teams were Omaha teams. After that, it was probably skewed 75% towards what you did in the regular season, 25% in the postseason. Not saying you need to agree with me, but that's kind of the formula I followed.
No. How can I disagree with the way you do your own poll? Okay? It's very
Well, you call
hard.
me an idiot. I mean, there's the one thing I would, if I saw my poll and I wanted to go to the comment section, I would say, okay, you didn't have Jacksonville State ranked in the postseason. They didn't win their regional. You got them ranked 24th, and the team that lost the regional to, you didn't rank. I stepped back, looked at the whole season, and said Jacksonville State with a 48-15 record, beating Georgia Tech 2 times, that they deserve to be ranked. So, like, you can find fault with things I did, but hopefully you just say at least they were well thought out.
I love the top 8 for you are Omaha. 100% just as a base concept, love it to death. Absolutely do. Like Oklahoma was not ranked in the top 25 entering the postseason. They're number 1 in the poll. Damn right. It's the 9-16 for me that my own philosophical thoughts came in where, again, I felt like you needed to advance. But I said 90%, right? Georgia Tech and UCLA absolutely have to be in the top 16. And for me, here's why they're the exception to my own rule. They both have the word champions next to their title. Losing in the regional does not erase Big Ten champs and ACC champs. And like UCLA is both regular season and tournament. That's why I could still put them at 12 or 15, despite how I see things. And there's other teams who their regular season is not good enough, despite winning their regional, to advance them forward. And you mentioned Little Rock. So it fits for what I believe.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my rankings right now, and if I had to change something, I've got A&M 15, who did not win its regional, and Oregon 16, who did. I would probably switch that if I had to do it right now, but A&M was ranked 7th before, and Oregon was ranked 18th, and I didn't think Oregon's regional, even though Oregon State was in it, was that difficult, and they got swept in the regional, super regional, so I'm kind of arguing with myself right now. But I could see if someone looking at this and say, hey, Oregon should be ahead of Texas A&M.
And it's one spot. Right?
Yeah.
You flip-flop 15-16 at kind of the most, right?
Right. Totally.
So, and you know what? I loved your polls. I thought, you know what's funny? That's the thing. Sometimes I wanted to argue, and I'm like, wait a minute. Am I arguing over like 2 spots? I could sleep with this. It's fine.
Yeah, and I think there's more philosophy in college baseball polls than other sports. Basketball, football's more cut and dry. Your record is it's the head-to-head gets murky, like early in the season. There's always debates and polls, but just the nature of baseball, the fact that you're bringing midweek games into the equation when neither team is putting its best foot forward because they're not throwing their best pitchers. So you got to factor that in. And, when you play teams matters so much. I guess you can say that with every sport, but with injuries and if you miss a team's ace who misses 2 weeks. So, yeah, I love doing it, and I love the debate because you have to go in with an open mind and say, okay, as long as things are rational and well thought out, you got to kind of live with it.
You said football's cut and dry, right? Your record is who you are. I struggle mightily with a base concept of not all conferences are created equal, not all records are created equal based upon what I just said also. That's the problem I really have. And
Totally.
Sankey says that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending Texas at all. Like, I think losing to Florida last year was, a crime, so you can say, but like Texas versus a one-loss Big 12 or, ACC team or any SEC team that's 10-3, with these mega conferences, records, not all records in the same league are even the same. So, yes, I wasn't suggesting that there should be no debate in college football polls. Every poll and ranking, there should be debates because there's so many different ways you can look at teams. You reward good wins more than you penalize bad losses.
What do you believe?
What was that?
What do you believe? Do you believe in the wins or the losses?
More win. I reward wins more than I penalize losses, but it's all part of the equation. Like, I even hate to answer that because it's not a yes or no question. It's just you gotta weigh the whole picture. And in like baseball, you look at records. Like, who's to say Jacksonville State at 48-15? That's a gaudy win. Like, what if they won 45 games? Like, what's the line that your record's so good you need to be ranked? So it's just kind of like what what do you think? It's like, who have you played in your league? Is the bottom of your league terrible, where you don't have to play well to win for a weekend sweep? So all of that should be factored in.
Football is fun to me because you can't have it. I start with you should have no bad on your record. That you can't have bad losses of any kind because that automatically takes you down a whole tier for me. And then you can look at all the teams with bad losses on the same tier. But any team that has no bad loss, you can't be on the same tier with. That's how I look at bad losses.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just it's such an interesting way to look at it. So like Texas last year, they beat Texas A&M, right? They beat a playoff team, and I'm sure I don't have their schedule in front of me. But yeah. that bad loss to Florida. What the bad losses do, and not that things are won on social media or in talk radio or in debating with your friends. What the bad losses do, it opens up the argument that you have no response to. Like, well, you lost to Florida and they were 5-7. Like, what are you going to say? Oh, it was only one game. Well, don't lose that game.
Correct.
It gives people ammunition to poke holes in your resume. Whereas if you're called the Louie Bellina plan and if you have no bad, then it's harder to debate against. Then you get into who have they beat? And then that's a whole nother argument.
Because once you take care of the bad losses, then we get to talk about the teams you beat.
Yeah, and it's so, and like you could beat a 5-7 Auburn team on the road that went 1-7 and 5-7, but if you watched them play every week, they had a lot of close losses. They got dudes like Cam Coleman on the team. They're pretty good, but then someone say, oh, that's just an SEC homer thing. If you tried to say that about a Big Ten team, people would laugh at you. So that's why we love college football, and that's why it drives us mad at times, but the debates are fun.
And that's why sports talk radio should decide things. Hey, Mitch, a quick timeout, come back. Let's hang out some more.
Sounds good.
Mitch Light of The Athletic. Well, we're going to go on break. I'm so sad. I don't want to talk about it. Mitch Light of The Athletic hangs out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Most guests of the Louie Bellina Show hang out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. If you kind of need some assistance getting your land cleared, land excavated, d4landservices.com. You need help just getting your land kind of in general fixed up, forestry, mulching, pond construction, check out d4landservices.com. This is the Louie Bellina Show, Monday on the Zone.
The Houston Astros play in the zone. Thanks to Kelly Bird Dozer.
We head back out, so we get to hang out with Mitch Light of The Athletic. Mitch, look, before we go any further, I got to thank you. You join me each year, and you don't have to. At The Athletic, you make the big fat money as the head of The Athletic, co-owner, head editor, all that kind of stuff. And you also happen to be a busy man in between your duties, family, and stuff. So I thank you. I enjoy the knowledge. I appreciate the company and time. It's just fun to hang out with you each Monday. So before, we go any further, I want to thank you, man. I have a lot of fun. You know that.
Well, thanks for having me on. I enjoy it too. And just so people know, I do not own The Athletic. We've got 600 employees. I'm just I just do my job here, but happy to spend 30 minutes with Louie Bellina every Monday.
And we've been doing this. The Louie Bellina Show is 25 years old. I should have wrote it down somewhere. If I started in 91, what does that mean now?
91.
Yeah.
2001. You didn't start in 91, did you?
Did I? No, I started in radio in 91. The show started in 2000. Thank you. In 2001. So what does that mean? 25?
Well, so I started at Athlon Sports in 2001, and I think you did some interviews with John Hill, a colleague of mine, and then I kind of took over doing the radio stuff. So we probably did our first one in 2002 or 2003.
So holy cow. So you've been 23 years?
Yeah.
Wow, you need better hobbies.
I was going to say I've been longer than I've been married, but I got married in 90. I should know this, 98. So
I hope close. You know that.
Yeah, close. Yeah.
I hope you know that.
And my wife's downstairs. She didn't hear that. That's fine.
All right, fair enough. So Mitch and I, 2 decades together, and Mitch, if we're both alive and doing what we're doing, and you haven't tired of this yet, hopefully in August we'll be reunited and talking some college football, brother.
Well, I hope we're both alive in August. That's not too far away.
I don't plan that far ahead,
Okay.
So, again, yes, I hope we're both alive. Step one, yes, I hope we're both alive too and doing what we're doing. I hope we get to hook up again in August if you're up for it. But we'll talk about it then. For now, let's just do a little primer for college football 2026. I'm going to ask you the most basic offseason questions, but who's going to win the SEC?
I need to preface this by saying I'm kind of out of football shape. One of the few negatives of spending a lot of time on college baseball is I don't pay as much attention to the off-season personnel stuff. I mean, I do. It's my job. I edit stuff, but this isn't boring necessarily because I think Texas is a popular pick. I'm going to pick Georgia. Obviously big believer in Kirby. I think some of the I like Gunnar Stockton. I think some of the additions they made at wide receiver, they have not had elite wide receiver play in recent years. I think they beefed up that core, and I think they're very, very good on defense. So I'd say Georgia, probably edging out Texas if I had to think about it, but Georgia's my call.
Is this the year that Georgia makes a run in the CFP, or are they just going to be a participant again?
Well, if I think they're good enough to win the SEC, it's fair to say that they can make a run, although winning the SEC in previous years hasn't necessarily meant you make a run. But yeah, I mean, clearly, if you can navigate the SEC and win a league championship game, you have what it takes to win in the postseason. Doesn't mean you're going to do it, though, obviously.
There's just something about Georgia that feels quaint and antique. They don't feel very modern for me. And I don't know if I believe in Gunnar Stockton as that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but they also won two national championships with a quarterback who kind of operates an offense like Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah, but that feels 100 years ago.
It was this decade.
I know.
21 and 22.
Things
it was only 4 seasons ago.
I know. It just things evolve, man. Things evolve. I don't know. They just feel old to me. Again, I thought they were going to make a run 2 years ago. They should have made a run last year. And look, it's very much the way I used to look at Saban in Alabama. If they're not dominating every year, I think there's something wrong.
I look at it as if you're in position every year, you're going to knock the door down. They've already knocked it down twice, which is very difficult to do in consecutive years. You can argue a couple years ago, Carson Beck gets hurt, whether or not you're a huge Carson Beck believer or whatever, but he gets hurt and Stockton gets thrust in there for the postseason. That obviously didn't help the Notre Dame game. Do they beat him with Carson Beck? Maybe, maybe not. The offense was obviously a big issue, though Notre Dame's defense was good. So, yeah, I'm not. It's weird to say it's about Georgia since they've won 2 national championships. I'm just not a believer in not picking a team because they haven't done it. I mean, you got to break through at some point, and I think Georgia's ready to re-break through. Now, I just picked them to win the SEC championship. Doesn't mean I'm picking them to win the national title. I just think they've got the best team in the SEC.
Are you buying or selling Texas as a top 2 team to start the country?
Again, I haven't done a ranking. I would put them in my top 3 probably. I'm a huge believer in Cam Coleman. I just think he's such a good wide receiver. And Arch, a little less pressure in his second full year as the starter. They've beefed up the running back position. 2 good additions there. I just think their offense is going to be really, really dynamic. So I'm buying Texas.
Yeah, the thing about Texas, they allegedly have one of the top 3 offensive line units in the country. They have 2 of the top running backs in the country. They have 2 of the top wide receivers in the country with a preseason Heisman quarterback favorite. I'm kind of not sure how that fails.
Right. There's enough. If the offensive line's as good as everyone thinks it is, there's enough there to if that doesn't work out, then they still have that. They're not leaning on the running game. They're not leaning on anything. And Arch, you can debate about his ceiling, NFL, whatever, but he's going to his floor is very high. He's going to be a good quarterback. It just depends on how good and how much does the reinforcements wide receiver kind of elevate his game. Now, I don't want to sit here and act like he didn't have good receivers last year. He did. DeAndre Moore transferred out. Parker Livingstone transferred out. Those are receivers that anybody would love, and Oklahoma took one of them, and Colorado took another, and there were suitors for both those guys. So, it's not like they went from having nobody to to a good receiving core.
Yeah, the other thing, I saw this today, and these things aren't 100% facts, but I saw that Texas has the toughest schedule in the SEC, according to one SEC person. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
so that might be the thing.
I'm skeptical of those two because you just never know. I mean, obviously, there's just so much we don't know about these teams, especially in this era. Like
facts,
if you looked at Vanderbilt last year, you say that's an easy win, or what? But they went 8-2 or 6-2 in the league. And Auburn to me is a big swing. They went 1-7 last year. They could be good, or they could be 1-7 again. So you just don't know. I understand how that works. You look at schedules; it's fun doing the off season. But I think it's like splitting hairs at this point.
Well, too much of this is based on last year. And if you've watched enough college football, last year, now more than ever, has less impact on what you can expect this year. Now more than the transfer portal has made that even less true.
Yep, 100%. Totally agree.
So who's going to win the national championship if not Georgia, since you said you didn't pick them?
Ohio State, maybe?
Oh, come on, Mitch. Live dangerously.
Okay, Texas A&M.
I didn't say live foolishly. There's a difference in those two.
I think Notre Dame's going to be very good. How about this? Oregon. Oregon breaks through. Oregon falls into just because they haven't done it doesn't mean they won't do it camp. Good portal additions on defense. They great receiving corners. They had some injuries last year at receiver. They're getting healthier there. Dante Moore was good last year at quarterback. He has a chance to be great this year. So I don't know their schedule. Don't have it in front of me, but I'll say Oregon.
Could Texas A&M win the national championship? Yes. Most logic would dictate no because of the volume of turnover. We live at a time due to the portal. That doesn't mean as much as it used to either. They got a lot of players, though, Mitch. They got a lot of players, though. Them returning to the college football playoff should not surprise anyone. And if you do, by that time, all the new guys aren't new anymore. And it's a 5-6 week long tournament, so you further get to develop once you hit the postseason. Even it's kind of absurd, actually, right? So
no, I mean they're definitely in that. I wouldn't call them whatever tier you want to say the SEC. If you want to say Georgia, Texas might be top two. They're in that next group there where it would not surprise you, and maybe you expect them to be. I think they're probably in most preseason top 10s, and if you're in a preseason top 10, that says playoff team.
It's just one of those things where old football logic, and I'm going to call it that, you never pick a team that is replacing 4 offensive linemen, and we'll say 5 of their front 7 to win anything. And we're talking about making the college football playoff and win a national championship. And that's A&M's story. But that's old football logic. They got 4 players with starting SEC O-line experience to replace them. That's portal life.
Right. It doesn't mean that they're I'm making this up obviously, but one of them might get into a fight with the other, girlfriend. You just don't know about chemistry and all that stuff. We think they'll blend together and have chemistry and make a formidable offensive line, but you just don't know in this era. It's a dangerous position to make assumptions on, but we've seen plenty of teams reload the offensive line and be very, very good. So, but you're right. It's like if you would have said, I was at Athlon Sports, my previous job, 10 years ago, and you said a team lost 4 starters
on the O-line,
offensive line, that team's got a ceiling. You're not going to pick them in the top 5.
That team's going to have a losing record the next year. You have no O-line. That's old football logic.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's why this is it's an interesting time for fan bases. Whether or not you love the portal and all that stuff, there's no denying that it gives more fan bases, more teams hope every year because of the quick things you can solve. You can solve your issues in the portal, or you can attempt to solve them, and you might not solve them. Okay, you can minimize your issues in the portal. You might not be if you lose all your wide receivers, you might not be good at that position the next year, but it might not be a huge weakness where in years past you would have been asking, 2 or 3 guys who didn't catch a pass the previous year to step up.
Absolutely. I mean, here's what I'll say about the portal. You got to have money. I mean, that's the most, but for those that have money, it allows those that are smart to be smarter. Because it's not enough just to grab players. You still have to develop and you have to identify. And those that have that ability, If you don't have money, it doesn't matter. But if you have the money, you can be a better coach, I think. I think that's part of what we're seeing, too. It's not enough just to have money.
Yeah, well, no doubt. We're at the point now where almost everyone has money. There's different levels. So it's more about efficiency now in the portal. Like, I got a kick in the offseason like basketball. It seemed like the schools, how many times do you hear this? Well, the coach is coming back, or this team, they're finally committed. They're going to allot $15 million for their budget. Like, well, if everyone's spending, then no one's rich because they're all spending. Sort of like we're at that point in SEC football where almost every team is spending. So it's not like the first few years of the portal when maybe Tennessee was ahead of the curve with their collective and all that. You just obviously the big. It's almost like recruiting used to be. The bigger schools are going to get the better players because they win more. But it's also you need to be efficient as well. You can't just, like you said, sign the big names.
Mitch, thank you always. Like I said, I'll reach out to you in August, and if we're all doing what we're doing and you're in the mood, let's spend another season together. But the bottom line is I'll never, ever be able to thank you enough for the time and the knowledge. It's a blast for me, man. I love our time together.
I enjoyed too, Louie, and have a good rest of the summer. We'll talk to you later.
Be awesome, brother. Talk to you soon, hopefully. Hey, be good. Mitch Light of The Athletic hangs out with us on the D4 Land Services hotline. Again, he just in the fall, we do college football national scene, national level, and in the spring, college baseball roundup. D4 Land Services, they do everything for your land, and you can check it out at d4landservices.com. But they also do metal buildings, like custom metal buildings from the ground up, and you can check it all out at d4landservices.com.
The Louie Bellini Show. Dial 979-693-1150. Hello. To visit with him. Hello. Or to win. Hello. On the D4 Land Services hotline. Dial 979-693-1150.
What a weekend it was. Smoke cleared last night, and both the Astros and Rangers now position themselves as June is winding down. And we're at the halfway mark, by the way. We have reached the halfway mark of the MLB season. They have positioned themselves as playoff contenders. I choke on that phrase because the American League as a whole is highly mediocre. Both the Astros and Rangers are not good teams. They're not bad teams. And in the American League, it appears that might be good enough. We'll go with the Astros first because the Astros rock, and I happen to love them to death. This was a 4-game series in Detroit. Astros won Thursday. Friday, the Astros got a mud hole stomped in them, 8-0. There is a problem with Spencer Arrighetti, who is the pitcher of the month in May, has an ERA of 9 for June. And, I'm knocking on wood. I hope you can hear that. I'm knocking on wood. The way he's pitching, there's an IL trip soon, and he missed almost all of last year IL. He can't be pitching the way he is in June just because his arm slot, his angle is off by 2 degrees, or he lost half a mile on the velo. Like, there's something wrong, and he's getting worse with each outing. Something needs to be addressed. So Arrighetti got shelled. Astros only had 5 hits. Series is even. Saturday, Sunday, the Astros this year have been awful at coming from behind. Part of that is their bullpen had been so bad that it was not really possible to rally. But the Astros on Saturday, with a run in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, rallied to win 8-6. Tang got the start. He was awful. And the back end of the pen was blue ball with 2 scoreless, gets the dub. By the way, a pitcher I pointed out all year was blue ball from the start, who I thought could have been a nominee. Dana Brown went out and brought all these pitchers in to start that they could afford, and none of them have worked out for the most part, when he had, like, blue ball a year ago, who had earned a spot to be the 4 or 5 guy. Instead, they put him in the pen. And he's now 4-2 with an ERA at 3.5. King got the hold. Josh Hader, I know you hear this about 4 times a week, but you only hear it because it's true. El Perfecto, difference maker. I don't think it's coincidental that the run has started for the Astros coinciding with Hader back. He wasn't the only one, but when you just can go to sleep in the 9th, it's done. Because he's like 7 for 7 now in save opportunities. He's only given up a run in one appearance, and it didn't cost him. Cam Smith hit his ninth. Pena went 3 for 5, 2 ribeyes. Paredes 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. Christian Walker had a 4-hit game. Yanier Diaz DH'd 2-hit game. It was beautiful. So, here's the statistic. Before the game Saturday, the Astros had only had like 15 come from behind. I mean, it's not very many. Then Sunday. The Astros put up 2 in the 7th. They tie it in the 8th. 4 spot in the 10th. Rally from behind again. 7-5. Astros beat the Tigers, take 3 out of 4 in Detroit, have a 5-2 road trip, 7-3 in their last 10. Astros now wake up. Game back in the AL West, half back in the wild card. And in the win Sunday, you've got Delgado. They had called him up, tying it in the what? He ties it. Oh, no. Excuse me. I'm getting all choked up. But a shot in the 7th brought them back from the dead. And then it was Paredes. His shot in the 8th tied them up solo. And then Christian Walker goes yard in the 10th, part of that 4-run. And 7-5. Astros win. Hunter Brown, no decision, 6-2. He's been brilliant in his 3 starts back. Hader ends up getting the dub, pitching a scoreless 9th. He's been brilliant since he's been back. De Los Santos gave up 2 runs in the bottom of the 10th, and it's time to make a move on him, and I think I know what the move's going to be. Christian Javier, I think, was supposed to start over the weekend in the Tang spot. Didn't. He's been down 30 days in the minors. They got to make a move by Friday, and I could see Javier up and De Los Santos down in a heartbeat right now because De Los Santos can't appear without giving up a run. They called him up a year early. They needed arms. They had a shortage. At the time, it all made sense. Matter of fact, it's like first week. Well, for relievers, first 4 to 6 appearances were great. But, yeah, I could see the corresponding move. Houston, half a game back of Seattle in the wild card, 2.5 back of Cleveland. Houston, half a game back. They're a full game back in the West of the Rangers who swept Toronto. So we've seen the American League West turn upside down because it had been Seattle and Oakland 1-2. Now it's Texas 1, Astros 2. The week ahead for the Astros. Back home, finally. 3-game series with the Twins. Lambert goes tonight. You can hear Astros baseball 6:40 pregame, 7:10 first pitch right here on the Zone. 11:50 a.m. and 93.7 FM. Astros baseball on the Zone, and select games over on Willie 1550 a.m. Or thanks to Kelly Burt Dozer. So Lambert tonight, Burrows tomorrow, I-May Wednesday, off day Thursday, and Tampa Bay over the weekend. Oh, Arrighetti goes Saturday. They got to figure out what's wrong with him. Christian Javier again penciled in for Saturday, but they got to make the move with him before Friday because his 30 days is up, and Hunter Brown goes on Sunday. Astros, as I mentioned, won 3 out of 4 in Detroit, 5-2 road trip, 7 of their last 3 to move within a half game of the wild card, a game out of first in the West. Texas swept Toronto. The Blue Jays in Toronto over the weekend. Friday, 5-4 final. They were actually up 5-0 and gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th. Evalde went 7-0. He was brilliant. 7 innings, no runs on the Friday game. Saturday, 5-run fifth, led the Rangers to the 7-4 dub. Gray in relief got the win. Alexander got his 3rd save of the year. Rangers completed the sweep on Sunday. Drama game. 3-2. Top of the 9th. Push a run across. Rocker was fantastic. 6-0. No decision. Win was awful. He gets the win in relief. 2 innings, 2 runs. Alexander with his 4th save, back-to-back games. Here's what you need to know of note for the Rangers, though. Caught the story of the weekend. Wyatt Langford back on the 10-day IL, strained left hammy. Evan Carter activated off the IL. Skip Shoemaker, the skipper, Ranger, manager, made it known he'll be out till after the All-Star break, most likely. And for Langford, he had just started catching fire. 7 homers in the last 20 games. He came off the IL June 5th, had missed 39 games, strained right forearm. It is the 6th IL stint of his career. 24-25, played in 134 games. Nice. But 6th IL stint of his career. Injury prone, question mark. Up next for the Texas Rangers, Cleveland, Progressive Field. I used to call it Progresso Field because it sounds better. Cleveland, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then it's an odd Detroit series because they're back home. The Rangers are Thursday, Detroit, off day Friday. You never, ever see, ever, an MLB team off on a Friday, World Cup. And then the Tigers are Saturday, Sunday. That is the week ahead schedule for the first place Texas Rangers, who swept Toronto, won 4 straight. They too 7-3 in their last 10. Rangers in first place. I heard a rumor that I've totally made up and has no basis of fact, that Rusty Burson took the newspaper this morning and framed it, showing the Rangers in first place. Again, totally made up rumor. When we come back, we are done with lunchtime on the Louie Bellina Show. And lunchtime, of course, is thanks to Rudy's Barbecue.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle.
Let's go.
Weekday mornings, 5 to 8 on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.